Hello, and thank you for joining. I'm Grace, Communications Coordinator at Ann Arbor's Office of Sustainability and Innovations, and welcome to Greenlight, where we dig into sustainability in Ann Arbor with the residents who are envisioning, creating, and establishing a sustainable and equitable future for our community. Supporting these goals and presenting this series is A20, the city's plan, framework, vision, and associated actions for creating and implementing a just transition to carbon neutrality community-wide by the year 2030. Today, we're shining the green light on Sean Reynolds, Senior Analyst with the City of Ann Arbor's Office of Sustainability and Innovations. Welcome to the show, Sean.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
To start us off, give us the elevator pitch of who you are and what you do.
Yeah, sure. Well, as you mentioned, I work for the Office of Sustainability and Innovations. My background is actually in forestry, so I joined the team to start our 10,000 Trees initiative, which maybe we'll talk about at another time. But since then, I have taken over a whole bunch of other programs. I work on air quality monitoring. I oversee some of our sustainable food work and our circular economy work. And I also run our Pollinator Aware Yard Care program, which is what we're going to be talking about today.
Absolutely. So, as you know, in April 2023, the Ann Arbor City Council approved Resolution R23-111, resolution to support pollinator habitat in Ann Arbor, which encourages property owners to adapt lawn care strategies that will help support pollinators. This resolution led to the development of the Pollinator Aware Yard Care program, which you now help oversee. Mm-hmm. Could you give me an overview of what the program is and what it does?
Sure. So the Pollinator Aware Yard Care program is really an educational program that aims to provide resources for residents who are interested in making sure that their yard, their lawn, whatever property they might have is maintained in a way that's environmentally friendly and sustainable and really is supportive of our native pollinator species.
That's excellent. Why would you encourage residents to use pollinator-aware yard care practices?
Yeah, so pollinators are really vital to pretty much every ecosystem. Here in Michigan, I believe it's around 30% of our crops and 90% of the wild plants really are reliant on pollinators to make sure that they are able to reproduce. So pollinators are vital to make sure that we have plants. And then those plants are really important for everything from producing food for us to eat to helping to mitigate runoff and flooding when we have really bad storms. They help to increase our air quality. They do photosynthesis, which gives us the oxygen that we breathe. So pollinators are really, really important for the plants and vice versa. We also need those native plants to support these pollinator species that are really reliant on those plant species.
Absolutely. Sounds like a lot of good reasons to be pollinator aware.
Yes.
Assume I'm your average Ann Arbor resident. What are some pollinator aware yard care practices you would recommend for me to start off with?
Right, so on our website, we recommend a lot of different options that you can do, and we really say on there, we make sure to let folks know it's not an all or nothing situation. Like you can pick and choose what works best for you, what works best for your yard. It's also if you are a renter, for example, and so you don't have a yard that you can really do work in, we offer, you can go to your landlord and suggest that they do some of these practices. So it ranges from everything from planting more native plant species because the turf grass that we have in most of our yards is not native in most cases, and also just not very useful for pollinators. If you think about it, it's just those little blades of grass. They don't really provide much habitat. They don't really flower and provide food. So the pollinators don't really use them very much. So if you can reduce the amount of grass that you have in your yard and put in more native plant species, that's really helpful for the pollinator species, in addition to having all those other benefits I named earlier that plants give us that grass really does not because it has the tiniest little roots. So they do absolutely nothing to help with flooding and stormwater, whereas these native plants have much, much longer root systems, so they're much more helpful. So we recommend doing that. We recommend reducing the amount of times that you mow your grass if you are going to leave grass in your yard, mowing it less frequently and letting it get to a little bit of a higher height. We do still have ordinances in the city in regards to the height that plants can be on both the lawn extension, so that area between the sidewalk and the road, as well as on your private property. So please, if you're going to make any changes to your lawn care practices, make sure that they are within our ordinances. But we are really encouraging folks to kind of do things a little bit differently. It also involves, in the fall, you can leave leaves from your trees and bushes that have fallen onto the ground. Leave them where they are or move them onto your garden beds instead of getting rid of them completely, because those actually provide really great habitat for insects that are actually trying to survive the winter. It's like a little blanket for them. And a lot of them also lay their eggs under those leaves. So it's really important to make sure that our pollinator species are able to survive and grow in population size by leaving those leaves there. And there's a few other suggestions on there as well, but if you're interested in looking up those, you can go to the website and see the full list.
Absolutely. Those are great suggestions. Thank you. You mentioned the City of Ann Arbor and the ordinances. How is the City of Ann Arbor supporting pollinators and native plants?
Right, so we have this Pollinator Aware Yard Care program, obviously, but we also are working closely with our Parks Department. They do a lot of great things to support pollinators, so both the main branch of parks as well as Natural Areas Preservation, which oversees the natural areas versus the maintained parks. They are both working really hard to make sure that there are more native plant species in these areas. NAP does a lot of great invasive species removal to get rid of the invasive plants that are pushing out those native plants that the pollinators really rely on. They also do surveys of birds and amphibians. Birds can be pollinators, and amphibians are a vital part of the ecosystem that make sure that pollinator species thrive as well. So that work is really important. And the parks also, the maintained areas, they did a trial run of different mowing techniques last year to see if we might be able to mow less frequently or keep grass at a higher height in some of those parks as well. So that work is ongoing, but stay tuned for more.
That's excellent. I'm interested in seeing examples of what a pollinator aware yard care practice could look like. Are there any pollinator gardens in Ann Arbor that I could go check out?
Yes, definitely. There are a lot of pollinator gardens. We actually have a map on our webpage as well that you can go to and take a look and see. Some folks have submitted their own gardens. There's also gardens that are in some of our parks. Most of them are in the downtown-ish area, so if you're in that area, you can do a little walking tour and go see a bunch of those. But obviously there are a lot of other pollinator gardens that are not on that map, although if you'd like to have them added, you can reach out and let us know. And there's a lot of rain gardens as well. Through the county, they have a master rain gardener program that teaches you how to put a rain garden into your yard. And those rain gardens, most of the plants in there, because they're really good at helping to absorb water and reduce flooding, are the native species that we were talking about earlier that have those really deep root systems. So a lot of those serve as pollinator gardens in addition to being the rain garden.
Sounds like a lot of this really comes together and makes sense and helps uplift our local ecosystem.
Yes, definitely. Environmental science and sustainability and all of these practices are very tied together.
That's great, because my next question is, in the past, A20 has supported No Mow May, where residents were encouraged, as you mentioned earlier, not to mow their lawns for the month of May. How is that program related to Pollinator Aware Yard Care?
Right, so Pollinator Aware Yard Care actually came out of No Mow May, so we participated as a city in No Mow May 2 years ago, I believe. And then we recognized that there are a lot of other ways that you can help pollinators beyond just not mowing in May. And also, again, the city ordinances I mentioned earlier, not mowing in May resulted in a lot of grass that was taller than that. And we did, City Council did make sure that nobody would be cited during the month of May in that year. But moving forward, we thought it would be a little bit easier to understand how you can participate if we have a program that's a little bit broader. It's not just focused on not mowing, but like I said, it's also planting native plant species and leaving the leaves in fall and not using pesticides and herbicides that can kill our native pollinator species.
I understand. A more comprehensive
Yes.
approach.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. What's one thing you wish more people knew or understood about this work?
That's a good one. I would say, like I mentioned earlier, birds are pollinator species. There's a lot of different things that are pollinators that most folks don't think of. If you went up to somebody on the street and said, name a pollinator, they would probably say a bee. right?
That's what I would have said.
Right. But it goes way beyond that. You know, it's other insects like butterflies and moths and flies. It is birds, hummingbirds. It is bats. You know, so there are all of these different species that are pollinator species. And so we try to make this program also inclusive of all of those different species. We have a recommendation on there about, for example, outdoor lighting, reducing how much light you have in your yard at night, because that can really distract bats and birds that are trying to navigate and cause them to injure themselves sometimes. So we're trying to make sure that folks know like all of these different species are really important to think about.
That's really great. Thank you. How does Pollinator Aware Yard Care factor into A20's broader themes of sustainability and transformation of our community?
Right. So one of the main things that's called out in the A20 plan is building resilience in our community, building the resilience of our people and of our place. The Pollinator Aware Yard Care is really tying into that really strongly by making sure that you have a natural space that is supportive of these pollinator species. You are also planting native plant species, and you're making your natural area more sustainable overall, and you're building the resilience of your yard to be able to withstand things like really strong storm events, so helping to reduce that flooding again. You are helping to improve air quality, you're just helping to improve the biodiversity of our ecosystem here in the city. So it's really, really important for building out that resilience of our community.
It sounds like it's beneficial not only for the pollinators, but for us as residents and community members.
Yes, definitely. And not to mention also beautiful, because these native plants are really pretty. Believe me, if you go to the Natural Area Preservation, they have a whole page of different native plants that you can plant in your yard. We actually link that on the Pollinator Aware Yard Care webpage. There are so many beautiful flowers on those plants. It's just a rainbow of amazingness.
That's delightful. How can residents get involved?
Right, so we actually, as part of this program, we also offer yard signs. So if you are interested in being involved in the program, you can go to the website, and up at the top there should be a link that's really easy to find that says, click here if you want to register your address as a participant. You can click there. Fill out the form, just let us know that, hey, my address at 123 Main Street is participating in this program. We're going to be doing at least one of those things that you recommended on the page. And then further down in that form, you can select, hey, I would like to have a yard sign so I can show off that I'm participating in this program and I can let others know what the program is about, why I'm doing what I'm doing in my yard, and let others learn about this program as well. So there's a QR code on the sign for folks that are walking down the street and they go, well, that grass is tall. Why is that grass tall? And then they see this sign and it says, I'm supporting pollinators. And they go, oh, interesting. I want to learn more. And they can scan that QR code. It'll bring them to that website, and then maybe they'll also be a participant. So that's a really great way to help spread the word and participate in the program.
That's excellent. And what is the website that you would direct folks to?
Yes, it is osi.a2gov.org/pollinators.
Perfect. Thank you. Before we sign off, is there anything else you'd like to let our audience know about?
I think that pretty much covers it.
Excellent. Well, it has been fantastic having you on the show, Sean. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here.
You can learn more about Pollinator Aware Yard Care and how you can get involved, like Sean said, at osi.a2gov.org/pollinators, and more about A20 by visiting a20.org. Have a question you want to ask to a sustainability expert in the city of Ann Arbor? Let us know at sustainability@a2gov.org. This has been Greenlight. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.